Commander Liam stood at the edge of the observation deck, staring at the strange planet below. From orbit, it looked like a jewel in the black sea of space. Rivers glowed with soft blue light, forests shimmered with golden leaves, and the clouds moved like slow waves of silver. The sensors on his ship showed nothing harmful, but Liam felt a strange excitement in his chest. He had visited many worlds before, but something about this one felt different. After securing his exploration suit, Liam descended in the small shuttle. The atmosphere was breathable, warm, and moist. When he stepped onto the soft soil, he noticed the colors around him were brighter than any planet he had visited. Flowers with translucent petals swayed in the wind, and tiny creatures with glowing wings darted between the trees. Liam felt a mixture of awe and caution. He walked carefully along the crystalline river that reflected the colors of the sky. The water was clear but shimmered with shifting patterns like liquid light. He knelt to touch it. The water felt cool, almost alive, and ripples spread in strange patterns that seemed to respond to him. Liam marveled at the beauty, but he also knew he had a mission. He needed to map this area and understand if it could be safe for humans. As he explored, he heard a soft rustling in the trees. Liam froze. His hand moved to the sidearm at his belt, but he reminded himself that the planet's sensors had shown no signs of intelligent life. Still, instincts told him to be careful. Then, he saw her. She stepped out from behind a large tree, tall and graceful. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, and her long hair floated slightly as if moved by its own energy. Her eyes glowed softly, a light blue that seemed to pierce through the forest and into Liam's soul. She moved silently, with the fluidity of water, yet every movement was full of strength. Liam felt his heart beat faster, and he could not speak. He only whispered, "She's the most stunning alien woman I've ever seen." For a moment, it seemed she did not hear him. Liam thought he could be dreaming. But then, slowly, she turned toward him. Her glowing eyes met his, and the world seemed to pause. Liam felt a mix of fear and fascination. He had never seen a being so beautiful and yet so powerful. Her gaze was calm but curious, and Liam realized she was not afraid of him. He slowly lowered his hand from his sidearm and took a cautious step forward. I come in peace," he said, his voice shaking slightly. The woman tilted her head slightly, and Liam noticed her lips moved, but no sound came out. She seemed to be trying to communicate, but her language was unlike anything he had ever heard. He realized that he needed to find another way to connect. Liam reached into his pack and pulled out a small digital tablet. He drew simple shapes, pointing to himself and then to her. She watched carefully, her glowing eyes reflecting the moving images on the screen. Then she lifted her hand and made a gesture toward the river. Liam followed her movement. She pointed at the water, then drew a circle in the air. He understood. She wanted him to see something in the river. Liam knelt again and looked at the water. At first, it seemed normal, but then the patterns shifted. The ripples formed shapes that looked like symbols, glowing faintly. Liam's heart raced. This was intelligence. She was communicating, not with words, but with the natural world around her. He could feel the connection she had with this place, and he realized that she was not only beautiful but deeply tied to the life here. The woman moved closer, and Liam noticed more details. Her fingers were long and elegant, tipped with delicate markings that glowed faintly. Her movements were rhythmic, almost like a dance. She reached into the water and touched it. Instantly, the ripples spread, forming shapes that seemed to welcome him. Liam mirrored her gesture, and for the first time, it felt like they were sharing a moment of understanding. Hours passed as Liam and the woman explored the edge of the river together. He learned small things about her world. She pointed to plants that could heal, creatures that responded to her presence, and trees that seemed to move slightly as she approached. Liam felt a mix of wonder and humility. He realized that humans, with all their technology, had much to learn from this planet and its people. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in colors Liam had never imagined, he stepped back to get a better view. The woman stood by the riverbank, her glowing eyes fixed on him. Liam knew that this was the beginning of something extraordinary. He did not yet understand the full extent of her abilities or the secrets of her world, but he felt a bond forming, a silent understanding that words could never fully express. Finally, he spoke softly, "I am Liam. I am human. I mean no harm." She tilted her head again, then touched the air lightly with her hand. The water shimmered, and the glowing symbols changed, almost as if replying. Liam smiled. He could not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. She was aware of him, and she was curious. As night fell, the forest glowed softly under the light of bioluminescent plants. Liam set up a small camp, careful not to disturb her or the environment. From a distance, he watched her move among the glowing trees, her presence blending with the magic of the planet. He felt a mix of excitement and caution. He knew that this encounter would change everything, not only for him but for all of humanity. Liam lay on the soft ground, looking at the stars above, and whispered again, "She is the most stunning, and I have to understand her world." He knew it would not be easy. The planet held dangers, mysteries, and challenges beyond anything he had faced. But he also knew that he had found something rare, a connection that could not be measured by technology or weapons. For the first time in his career, Commander Liam felt that he was not alone in the universe. A silent presence, a brilliant and powerful being, had chosen to reveal herself. And with that revelation, the galaxy suddenly seemed larger, more alive, and full of possibilities he could barely imagine. As he drifted to sleep under the glowing canopy of alien trees, Liam could still see her figure by the river, watching him. He did not know if she would trust him fully, or what the days ahead would bring, but he felt certain of one thing: this encounter would mark the beginning of a journey that would change him and perhaps all of humanity forever. The next morning, the sun rose over the glowing forest, casting golden light across the river. Commander Liam woke early, feeling a mix of excitement and curiosity. Last night's encounter with the alien woman, Nira, had left him with many questions. He did not know her language, her world, or her intentions. Yet, something about her had drawn him in, and he could not stay away. He packed his small exploration gear and quietly approached the river. The air was cool and filled with the scent of glowing flowers. The soft hum of creatures moving in the trees surrounded him. When he arrived at the riverbank, Nira was already there. She stood perfectly still, watching the water. Her silver skin reflected the early sunlight, and her eyes glowed softly. Liam held his breath, careful not to startle her. Nira turned her gaze toward him and lifted her hand. The glow of her fingers traced shapes in the air, forming patterns that Liam could not understand. He realized that she was trying to communicate, and he felt a rush of excitement. He had to find a way to connect. Liam took out his tablet and drew simple shapes: a circle for the river, a tree for the forest, and a small figure to represent himself. He showed it to Nira, pointing to each shape and speaking softly. Nira watched carefully, tilting her head, then extended her hand toward him. The gesture seemed to invite him to follow. Liam nodded and moved beside her. She led him along the riverbank, moving gracefully over rocks and roots. Every step seemed deliberate, as if she knew the river's secrets. Liam noticed that the water responded to her presence. Ripples spread in patterns that looked like symbols. Some shimmered in blue, others in gold. Liam knelt and touched the water. He felt warmth and energy flow through him, and he realized that the river was alive in a way humans had never imagined. Nira pointed to the trees and touched one gently. The leaves shifted, and small glowing flowers opened. Liam watched in awe. She then gestured to him and held his hand briefly, guiding him to touch the tree. The flowers responded to him as well, though more slowly. Liam understood that Nira's world was alive, and she was its guide. Hours passed as they moved through the forest. Nira showed Liam creatures that could only be described as magical. Tiny glowing animals followed her hand gestures, moving in synchronized patterns. One creature, shaped like a small bird made of light, landed on Liam's shoulder. He smiled and reached out slowly. The creature touched his hand with a warm glow, and Liam felt a connection to the forest he could not explain. Liam began to draw more complex shapes on his tablet, trying to ask Nira questions. He drew a small human figure next to a larger figure and pointed to her. She watched, then gestured toward the sky and made a sweeping motion with her hand. Liam realized she was showing him that she was different, but not dangerous. They spent the morning learning from each other without words. As the sun moved higher, Nira led Liam to a clearing where the forest opened into a small valley. In the center, a pool of water reflected the sky. Nira touched the water, and the surface shimmered with symbols that Liam could almost understand. He saw shapes that looked like maps of the forest, paths through the trees, and areas where creatures gathered. Liam traced the shapes with his fingers, and Nira nodded. He felt that this was a gift, a way to understand her world without speaking. Nira then guided Liam to a plant with soft, glowing leaves. She gestured for him to touch it, and as he did, he felt a warm energy flow into his hand. The sensation was healing, soothing fatigue and aches from his long journey. Liam looked at Nira in amazement. She smiled slightly, the first expression of warmth he had seen on her face. He realized that she was teaching him not only about her world but also about its secrets and its strength. Throughout the day, Liam began to understand that Nira's intelligence was not like human intelligence. She did not need words because she understood through connection, observation, and intuition. Every movement, gesture, and touch carried meaning. Liam tried to mimic her movements, and the forest responded, though less perfectly than it did with her. He felt both humbled and inspired. As they moved deeper into the forest, Liam noticed strange glowing markings on the trees. He pointed to them, and Nira traced them with her hand. The symbols shimmered, then disappeared. Liam realized these markings were a form of communication, left for others who understood her language of energy and movement. He felt a thrill of discovery. If humans could learn this, they might understand more of the universe than ever before. By evening, Liam and Nira returned to the riverbank. The forest glowed under the light of the setting sun, and the river reflected the sky in golden and blue patterns. Liam sat quietly, watching Nira move among the flowers and water. He realized that he had never felt such peace on any other planet. Here, humans and alien life could coexist, learn from each other, and create something new. Nira approached him and placed her hand near his. The energy between them pulsed softly, and Liam felt a wave of understanding. Words were not needed. In that moment, he knew they trusted each other. The bond they were forming was not only between two individuals but between two worlds. As night fell, Liam set up a small camp beside the river. Nira remained nearby, watching, but she did not interfere. The soft glow of the forest surrounded them, and the air was filled with the hum of creatures and the gentle flow of the river. Liam thought about the human world, with its technology, wars, and rules, and realized how limited humans were compared to the intelligence and harmony he had witnessed here. He wrote notes in his log, careful not to disturb Nira or the forest. He documented what he could, the glowing plants, the intelligent creatures, and most importantly, the silent communication between him and Nira. He understood that this encounter would change him forever. Humans had explored planets before, but this was not just discovery. This was connection, learning, and understanding in its purest form. Before sleep, Liam whispered, "I want to understand you and your world." He knew he could not yet speak her language, but he also knew that language was not the only way to communicate. Through trust, observation, and shared experience, humans and this alien woman had begun to bridge a gap that no technology could close. As he closed his eyes, Liam felt Nira's presence nearby, watching the camp. Her glowing eyes were calm, curious, and alert. He felt a mix of wonder and hope. He did not know what challenges lay ahead, but he knew one thing: this silent communication, this connection, was the first step towards something greater than either of them could imagine. The morning light bathed the glowing forest in warm gold as Commander Liam awoke. He felt rested, but a sense of unease lingered in the air. Nira was already moving beside the river, her silver skin catching the early sun, her glowing eyes alert. Liam watched her as she touched the water and traced patterns in the river, sending ripples that shimmered like symbols. He had learned much from her already, but he sensed that her world held secrets he did not yet understand. Liam checked the sensors he had set around his camp. His instruments picked up something unusual in orbit. At first, he thought it was a reflection from the planet's glowing atmosphere, but the readings were clear. Ships, not native to the planet, were approaching fast. His heart tightened. Human or alien, he did not know. He adjusted the scanner and zoomed in. The display showed sleek, dark ships moving with precision. Liam's mind raced. These were not visitors like him. These were hostile. He turned to Nira, hoping to warn her. She was kneeling beside a glowing plant, studying it carefully. Liam took a deep breath and used gestures, pointing to the sky and then at the ships on his tablet. Nira's eyes widened slightly, and she stood quickly. She raised her hands and traced a series of symbols in the air. The river shimmered and sent pulses of light in response. Liam understood that she knew the threat already. Her connection to the planet allowed her to sense the approaching danger before his technology could detect it. Together, they moved through the forest, Nira guiding him along hidden paths and over soft moss that covered the ground. Liam noticed how the trees shifted subtly as she passed, forming openings where he could step safely. Every plant and creature seemed to respond to her presence. Liam realized that the planet itself was part of Nira's awareness, and her intelligence extended far beyond her form. As they reached a high ridge overlooking the valley, Liam could see the ships descending. Dark streaks against the glowing rivers and trees, they looked menacing. Liam knew they had weapons that could destroy the forest in minutes. He turned to Nira, trying to communicate urgency and strategy. She nodded slightly and pointed toward the forest. Then she began to move, swiftly and purposefully, through a series of gestures and patterns of glowing symbols. Liam followed, understanding that she was guiding him to positions that could protect both the forest and himself. Nira led him to a series of large, hollowed trees that seemed perfect for hiding. She touched the walls, and faint patterns glowed, revealing passageways inside the trunks. Liam crawled through carefully, amazed at how the forest itself was designed to shelter and defend. Nira moved with him, fluid and precise, like she had done this many times before. From inside the tree, they could see the first wave of attackers land. Small scouts emerged from the ships, moving toward the river and the glowing trees. Liam studied their formations. They were not human, and their technology was advanced, but it lacked understanding of the forest. Liam realized that the attackers relied on weapons and firepower, not intuition. He looked at Nira. She raised her hand, and the river shimmered. The water formed glowing barriers and pulses that disrupted the movement of the enemy scouts. Liam's heart raced. He had never seen anything like this. Nira moved among the forest creatures, calling them with gestures and whispers. Tiny animals, glowing with light, emerged and moved in coordinated patterns. Birds of light swooped down, creating distractions. Creatures with long, flexible bodies blocked paths and guided Liam and the animals to defensive positions. Liam watched, amazed at the harmony between Nira, the creatures, and the forest itself. They were fighting not with violence but with strategy and connection. The attackers fired, but their weapons seemed ineffective against the glowing barriers and the swift movements of the creatures. Liam realized the forest was alive, and Nero was its commander. He joined in, using his technology to amplify the energy patterns Nero created. Together, they formed a network of defense, combining human tools with alien intuition. Hours passed in tense action. The attackers tried to advance, but the forest and its guardian refused them entry. Liam saw Nira in motion, her silver form moving with grace and speed, guiding creatures, directing energy, and protecting the river. Every time an enemy advanced, she responded, and the creatures adapted instantly. Liam felt a mix of awe and determination. He had fought many battles in his life, but this was different. Here, the fight was not only for survival but for understanding, trust, and the bond between life and human presence. At one point, a larger group of attackers approached the clearing where the river curved. Liam knew they could not hold them back with technology alone. Nira touched the water, and a pulse of light shot across the river, creating a shield. The attackers paused, confused, and hesitant. Liam realized that Nira's power was amplified by the planet itself. She was not just protecting herself, she was defending the life of the forest, the river, and all its creatures. When the attackers finally retreated, Liam felt a rush of relief. The forest was safe, at least for now. Nira lowered her hands, and the glowing patterns faded. She looked at Liam, her eyes soft but alert. Liam nodded, understanding her silent question. They had survived the first threat, but the danger was not over. The attackers could return, and humanity's presence on this planet could become a reason for conflict. Liam knelt by the river and touched the water, feeling the energy pulse from Nira's presence. He realized that the planet and its inhabitants were more than allies, they were teachers. He could learn from them, adapt, and grow stronger. Nira approached and placed her hand near his. He felt a warmth that comforted him after the fear and tension. In that touch, he sensed trust and understanding. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the forest. Liam and Nira moved to a high vantage point overlooking the valley. He studied the horizon, watching for any sign of the returning attackers. Nira stood beside him, silent and calm. Liam realized that words were not necessary. Their bond was built on action, observation, and shared experience. As night fell, the forest glowed with bioluminescent light. Liam set up a small camp, careful to keep the area hidden from the sky. Nira remained nearby, her presence both calming and powerful. Liam knew that the next steps were critical. They had survived the first wave, but understanding the enemy, the planet, and Nira's abilities would be essential for the challenges ahead. Before sleep, Liam whispered softly to Nira, "We will protect this place together." She looked at him, and for the first time, he felt a smile in her glowing eyes. The forest seemed to breathe around them, alive and ready. Liam knew that the bond between him, Nira, and this planet was just beginning. Together, they could face any threat, and humanity could learn a lesson about courage, strategy, and the strength that comes from connection. The stars shone above, mirrored by the glowing rivers below. Liam felt hope, excitement, and determination. He did not yet understand all of Nira's powers or the secrets of her world, but he knew that he would fight, learn, and grow alongside her. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and mysteries, but for the first time, Liam felt that humans and alien life could face the future together. The forest was quiet in the morning, except for the soft hum of glowing creatures moving between the trees. Commander Liam rose from his small camp and stretched. He felt a mixture of fatigue and excitement. The events of the previous day had tested his courage and skill, but they had also shown him the true strength of Nira and her connection to this world. Today, he hoped to learn more about her and the forest she protected. Nira appeared as he stepped outside his shelter. She moved gracefully, her silver skin shining in the early sunlight. Her glowing eyes met his, and for a moment, Liam felt a wave of calm. He had learned to read her gestures, but today he wanted to understand her world on a deeper level. He held out his hand in greeting, and she touched it lightly, as if acknowledging their growing trust. Together, they walked through the forest. Nira moved easily over roots and rocks, guiding Liam along paths that seemed invisible to a stranger. The forest itself seemed to respond to her presence. Leaves shifted to create space for them to pass, and small creatures scurried along without fear. Liam realized that every movement she made was part of a delicate balance, and that balance allowed the forest to flourish. Nira stopped by a cluster of glowing plants and gestured for Liam to touch them. As he placed his hand on the soft leaves, warmth spread through his body. He felt tiredness fade and his muscles relax. Liam smiled. He had experienced many healing technologies in his career, but this was different. It was natural, harmonious, and connected to the energy of the world itself. He looked at Nira with admiration, understanding that she had a deep knowledge of life and its rhythms. As they continued, Nira led Liam to a shallow clearing where small creatures played. Birds of light darted between the trees, and tiny animals with glowing fur moved in playful patterns. Nira gestured for Liam to join them. Hesitant at first, he stepped forward, and the creatures responded to him, though not as perfectly as they did to Nira. Liam laughed softly. He felt a connection forming not only with Nira but with the life of the forest itself. Nira then guided Liam to a stream that ran through the clearing. The water shimmered with colors that shifted like liquid rainbows. She touched the water, and it responded, sending gentle waves toward Liam. He stepped in carefully, feeling the energy flow around him. The experience was unlike anything he had felt before. He realized that the forest, the water, and Nira were all part of a single living system. He could sense patterns, rhythms, and a silent intelligence guiding them. Liam tried to communicate his thoughts. He drew simple shapes on his tablet and pointed to the water, then to himself. Nira watched, then traced a glowing symbol in the air. The water shimmered, forming a shape that matched his drawing. Liam smiled. They were learning to understand each other, using gestures, symbols, and energy rather than words. Every shared moment strengthened their bond and deepened Liam's respect for her world. As the day went on, Nira led Liam deeper into the forest. They discovered enormous trees with glowing trunks and leaves that whispered softly when touched. Nira placed her hand on one trunk and gestured for Liam to do the same. The tree responded, sending vibrations through the ground that Liam could feel in his chest. He realized that every part of this world was connected, and that Nira could communicate with it naturally. Liam began to teach Nira some of his own knowledge. He showed her simple tools and explained their use with gestures. Nira watched carefully, then experimented with them in her own way. She handled them with precision and understanding, adapting them to the forest environment. Liam was impressed. She learned quickly, not just by observation but by intuition, and he realized that humans could learn much from her approach to life. The sun moved higher, casting long shadows through the glowing forest. Liam and Nira paused by a large pool of water, reflecting the sky above. Nira touched the surface, and the pool shimmered with colors that danced across the surrounding trees. She gestured toward Liam, inviting him to join her. As he touched the water, he felt a deep sense of harmony, as if he were part of the forest itself. He looked at Nira, and for the first time, he saw what could be called a smile on her glowing face. They spent hours exploring together, learning from each other and the forest. Nira showed Liam plants that could heal wounds, creatures that could guide them through hidden paths, and areas of the forest that responded to energy and intention. Liam realized that humans relied on technology to survive, but Nira thrived through understanding, observation, and connection. The combination of human skill and Nira's intuition created possibilities that neither could achieve alone. As evening approached, Liam and Nira returned to the riverbank. The forest glowed softly under the light of bioluminescent plants, and the water reflected the changing colors of the sky. Liam set up a small camp while Nira observed, her presence calm and reassuring. He felt a deep respect for her and the bond they were forming. This connection went beyond friendship. It was a shared understanding of life, harmony, and courage. Before sleep, Liam sat quietly beside the river, watching Nira move among the glowing plants. He thought about the battles they had faced and the lessons he had learned from her. He realized that humans had much to learn about life, about balance, and about connection. Nira had taught him patience, observation, and the power of silent communication. He felt a sense of gratitude and determination. Nira approached and touched his hand lightly. Liam felt warmth and energy flow through him. He looked into her glowing eyes and understood that she trusted him. He smiled softly, knowing that trust was fragile but precious. In this moment, he felt that the bond they were forming could withstand any challenge. Together, they could face danger, learn from each other, and protect the forest. As night fell, the forest shimmered with light and energy. Liam lay down in his camp, listening to the soft hum of the creatures and the gentle flow of the river. He felt hope, excitement, and anticipation for the days ahead. Nira's presence was a constant reminder that humans could grow, learn, and connect in ways they had never imagined. He whispered softly to her, "Thank you for showing me your world." She touched his hand again, and the water shimmered in response. Liam closed his eyes, feeling a deep sense of peace. The bond between them was stronger than words, built on trust, shared experience, and the understanding that they were not alone in the universe. For the first time, Commander Liam felt that humanity could learn something truly extraordinary from the life of another world. The bond with Nira was a bridge between species, a connection that could change the way humans understood courage, intelligence, and harmony. As he drifted into sleep beneath the glowing canopy of the forest, he knew that their partnership had only just begun. The morning air was crisp and glowing under the light of the alien sun. Commander Liam felt a sense of urgency as he surveyed the forest from a high ridge. The attackers from the previous day had not completely left. Dark shapes moved in the sky, scanning the glowing rivers and trees below. Liam's heart tightened. He knew the battle was coming, and this time, it would be more dangerous. Beside him, Nira stood calm but alert. Her silver skin reflected the sunlight, and her glowing eyes scanned the forest. She touched the ground lightly, and Liam noticed the leaves and vines shifting subtly in response. He had learned that Nira could communicate with the forest in ways humans could barely understand. Today, that connection would be their greatest weapon. The first wave of enemy ships descended swiftly. They were sleek and fast, equipped with weapons designed to strike without warning. Liam signaled to the few human team members who had arrived with him. "Positions," he whispered, pointing to safe spots among the trees. Nira moved ahead of him, leading both humans and forest creatures to strategic locations. As the attackers landed, the forest responded instantly. Birds of light swooped down, blinding the enemy sensors with flashes of glowing feathers. Small creatures darted through the underbrush, tripping wires and slowing mechanical devices. Nira raised her hands, and pulses of energy spread through the forest. Vines rose from the ground, creating barriers and entangling enemy scouts. Liam watched in awe as the attackers struggled to advance. Liam joined the defense, using his training and technology to complement Nira's natural powers. He deployed small devices that amplified her energy pulses, making the barriers stronger and more effective. When enemy drones attempted to scan the forest, they were confused by the interference from the glowing water and plants. Liam realized that human ingenuity and Nira's intuition were a perfect combination. The attackers regrouped and tried to move through the river valley. Nira touched the water, and waves of energy radiated outward. The river shimmered with symbols that confused the enemy's targeting systems. Liam moved carefully alongside her, observing how she controlled every aspect of the environment. He realized that Nira's connection to the forest was not just power, it was intelligence, strategy, and coordination on a level he had never seen before. The battle intensified. A group of enemy scouts tried to flank the humans by moving through the dense forest. Liam gestured to Nira, and she responded immediately. With a graceful motion of her hand, glowing roots erupted from the soil, blocking the path. Small creatures scurried ahead, creating confusion and slowing the attackers. Liam smiled. The forest itself was fighting with them, guided by Nira's presence. At one point, an enemy ship attempted a direct strike on the river, aiming for the source of Nira's energy. Liam fired his weapons carefully, targeting the ship's engines, but he knew it would not be enough. Nira stepped forward and touched the water with both hands. The river pulsed with light, forming a shield that absorbed the impact. Liam felt the energy resonate through the ground, through the trees, and into his own body. He had never felt such power directed with such precision. The attackers were not easily defeated. They regrouped and sent a larger force toward the forest. Liam felt a surge of fear, but he looked at Nira. She stood firm, calm, and determined. He realized that her courage inspired not only him but also the creatures of the forest. Together, they could face overwhelming odds. Liam signaled the human team to hold their positions and follow Nira's lead. The battle continued for hours. Enemy forces attempted multiple strategies, but every advance was met with clever defenses from Nira and the forest. Liam noticed that even the smallest creatures played a role. Birds of light distracted sensors, small animals tripped traps, and plants shifted to block paths. Liam used his devices to strengthen the energy pulses and create openings for the creatures to move freely. Every action was coordinated, every move precise. As the sun began to set, the attackers launched a final assault. Liam and Nira stood together at a central clearing. Nira raised her hands, and the energy of the forest surged like a wave. The river pulsed brightly, sending beams of light across the battlefield. Vines and roots moved like living walls, blocking the enemy advance. Liam joined in, directing energy devices to amplify the force. Together, they created a barrier that the attackers could not penetrate. Finally, the enemy ships retreated. Liam felt relief and exhaustion wash over him. The forest was safe, and the creatures moved freely once again. Nira lowered her hands, and the glowing patterns faded. She looked at Liam, her eyes still glowing softly. Liam smiled and nodded. The battle had been won, not through sheer force but through strategy, understanding, and cooperation. Liam walked through the forest, observing the creatures and plants. He noticed how they returned to their natural patterns, guided by Nira's influence. He realized that the forest itself had been a powerful ally, and that Nira's intelligence and courage had been the key to their success. He felt gratitude, respect, and admiration for her. As night fell, Liam and Nira returned to the riverbank. The forest glowed with soft, bioluminescent light, reflecting the calm after the storm. Liam set up a small camp while Nira remained nearby, her presence reassuring and powerful. He knew that this victory was only temporary. The attackers could return, and he would need to be prepared. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of peace, watching the river shimmer under Nira's gentle guidance. Before sleep, Liam sat quietly beside the river. He thought about the battle, about Nira, and about the connection he felt with the forest. He realized that true strength came not from weapons or machines but from understanding, trust, and courage. Nira had taught him that humans could achieve much more when they worked with others, and when they respected the intelligence of the natural world. Nira approached and touched his hand lightly. Liam felt warmth and energy flow through him. He looked into her glowing eyes and understood that she trusted him completely. He smiled softly, knowing that the bond they had formed could withstand any challenge. Together, they had faced danger, learned from each other, and protected the forest. As he lay down under the glowing canopy of the forest, Liam felt hope and determination. He knew that their partnership had only just begun. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but for the first time, he felt that humans could face the future alongside beings like Nira. Together, they could protect life, learn from each other, and discover a new way to survive in the galaxy. The forest was calm the next morning. The glowing rivers reflected the rising sun, and the soft hum of creatures filled the air. Commander Liam walked through the forest with Nira, his mind replaying the battle of the previous day. He felt pride in their victory, but he also felt a deep sense of respect for Nira and her connection to this world. The forest had not only defended itself but had guided them to survive and win. Nira moved gracefully beside him. Her silver skin reflected the sunlight, and her glowing eyes held a calm intelligence. Liam watched her, realizing that every movement, every gesture, and every touch was part of her awareness. She understood the forest in a way humans could never fully grasp, and through her, the forest had become their ally. Liam felt honored to walk beside her. He knelt beside the river and dipped his hand into the shimmering water. The gentle flow carried warmth and energy, and Liam felt the connection between Nira and the life around them. He realized that victory was not just about defeating the enemy. It was about understanding, trust, and working with what the forest had to offer. Humans had relied on force in the past, but here, they had learned a new form of power, harmony, and cooperation. Nira touched his hand lightly, guiding him to observe the forest closely. Liam noticed small details he had missed before. Flowers opened their petals as if bowing to the sunlight, vines moved to allow safe passage, and creatures moved with precision and purpose. Every element was part of a living system, and Nira was its guardian and interpreter. Liam understood that she had saved the forest not only with power but with wisdom and courage. As they walked deeper into the forest, Liam noticed areas that had been damaged during the battle. Nira approached the plants and touched them. Slowly, the leaves and stems began to glow and recover. Liam realized that her energy could heal not only living creatures but also the forest itself. He knelt beside her, feeling the pulse of life and the rhythm of the planet. For the first time, he felt a deep connection to a world that was not human, and he understood that this bond was precious. They reached a clearing where the river widened, forming a pool of glowing water. Nira touched the surface, and the pool shimmered, sending patterns of light across the surrounding trees. Liam watched closely. He understood that she was communicating, not with words, but with energy. He traced the patterns with his fingers, learning the meaning slowly. The shapes told the story of the forest, the battle, and the harmony that had been restored. Liam spoke softly, "I never imagined a world could be so alive. Your forest, your creatures, and your energy, it is beyond anything humans know." Nira tilted her head and traced a symbol in the air. The water shimmered, forming shapes that Liam could understand. She was telling him that humans had potential, but they needed to learn from connection, observation, and courage. Liam smiled. He realized that she saw in him something more than a soldier. She saw the possibility of understanding and cooperation. As the day went on, Nira guided Liam to hidden parts of the forest. He saw creatures that seemed to float on air, plants that glowed in intricate patterns, and trees that responded to thought and intention. Liam felt a sense of wonder and humility. He realized that humans had technology, but Nira's world had intelligence, intuition, and harmony that no machine could replicate. He felt grateful to be allowed to witness it. Liam and Nira paused by a glowing waterfall. Water fell in ribbons of light, reflecting colors he had never seen. Nira gestured for him to touch the water. As he did, he felt warmth, clarity, and understanding flow through him. He realized that the forest, the water, and Nira were all connected, and through that connection, he had learned more than he could have imagined. He looked at Nira and whispered, "You are incredible. I could never have imagined a world like this, and I could not have faced the threat without you." She touched his hand again, sending a pulse of energy that seemed to answer him. Liam understood that trust and courage were stronger than any weapon. Victory was not just surviving, it was learning, understanding, and respecting life in all its forms. As evening approached, Liam and Nira returned to the riverbank where he had set up camp. The forest glowed softly under the light of bioluminescent plants, and the river reflected the sky in colors of gold and blue. Liam felt a sense of peace. The attackers had retreated, the forest was safe, and he had learned the value of connection, patience, and courage. He knew that this understanding would guide him in the future. Nira stood beside him, her glowing eyes calm and steady. Liam realized that their bond had grown beyond simple trust. They had fought together, survived danger, and learned from each other. In the quiet of the forest, Liam felt that he had found not only an ally but a friend who could teach humanity a new way of seeing the universe. Before sleep, Liam knelt beside the river and traced the glowing patterns in the water. He whispered softly, "Thank you for showing me your world and for trusting me." Nira touched his hand lightly, and the water shimmered in response. Liam felt warmth and energy flow through him. He understood that their connection was not just about survival, it was about learning, growing, and facing the universe together. As night fell, the stars above reflected in the glowing rivers below. Liam lay in his camp, watching the gentle movement of the forest. He thought about the battles, the lessons, and the bond with Nira. He realized that humanity had much to learn, and that courage, intelligence, and understanding could create alliances stronger than any weapon. Nira remained nearby, silent and calm, watching over the forest. Liam felt gratitude, admiration, and hope. He knew that together, they had not only survived but learned a new way to approach life, conflict, and connection. The forest was safe, and the bond between human and alien was strong. Before closing his eyes, Liam whispered again, "Together, we can face anything." Nira's glowing eyes met his, and in that simple gesture, Liam understood the depth of trust, courage, and harmony they shared. The victory was theirs, but the understanding they had gained was even greater. For the first time, Commander Liam felt that humanity could learn from another world, and that through trust and cooperation, humans could face the challenges of the galaxy with strength, intelligence, and courage. The forest, Nira, and Liam had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that victory was not only about strength, but also about understanding, connection, and the courage to learn from life itself. The forest was calm and glowing under the early morning sun. Commander Liam stood at the riverbank, taking in the beauty of the place that had become his home. The battles were over, the attackers had retreated, and the forest was safe once more. But Liam knew that this was only the beginning. There were new challenges ahead, and a larger universe to explore. Nira moved gracefully beside him, her silver skin catching the sunlight and her glowing eyes scanning the forest. Liam had grown to understand her gestures, her symbols, and the way she communicated with the living world around her. They no longer needed words to share thoughts or plans. Their bond had grown deep, rooted in trust, courage, and shared experience. Liam knelt and touched the river, feeling the flow of energy that connected all life in the forest. He could sense the pulse of the plants, the movement of the creatures, and the presence of Nira beside him. The energy of this world was unlike anything humans had ever known. He felt both awe and humility. Through Nira, he had learned that true power was not measured in weapons or machines, but in understanding, connection, and harmony. Nira gestured toward the horizon, where the forest met a range of glowing hills. Liam understood that she wanted to show him more of her world. They walked together, moving through paths that twisted and turned beneath massive trees and over soft moss. The creatures of the forest moved freely around them, curious but unafraid. Liam realized that they recognized Nira and now recognized him as well. He felt a sense of acceptance, not only from Nira but from the living world itself. As they reached a clearing at the edge of the hills, Liam saw something that took his breath away. Beyond the glowing forest lay a vast valley filled with rivers of light, fields of glowing plants, and mountains that shimmered in the sunlight. It was a world full of life and energy, larger and more magnificent than he could have imagined. Nira touched the ground, and the light of the valley responded, flowing in waves toward them. Liam felt the energy wash over him, filling him with strength and clarity. Nira led him down into the valley. She moved with grace and purpose, her connection to the land guiding their steps. Liam followed closely, observing everything with wonder. He saw creatures that soared through the glowing sky, plants that opened and closed with thought, and streams of water that pulsed with light. He realized that this was a world alive in every sense, and Nira was its guardian and guide. As they explored, Liam began to understand the lessons Nira had been teaching him. Humans often relied on technology and strategy, but Nira relied on connection, observation, and intuition. Her intelligence was not separate from the world around her, it was part of it. Liam felt inspired. He could learn from her, and he could bring back this knowledge to humanity. Perhaps humans could find a new way to approach life, conflict, and exploration. In the center of the valley, they came upon a large, calm lake. The water glowed softly, reflecting the colors of the sky and the surrounding land. Nira touched the surface, and Liam felt waves of energy flow through him. The lake seemed to respond to their presence, shimmering in patterns that told stories he could almost understand. He reached out and placed his hand in the water, feeling the pulse of life and the connection to everything around him. Nira moved beside him, and for the first time, she gestured for him to step closer. He did, and she took his hand, guiding him to touch the water with both hands. Liam felt a surge of understanding, not in words, but in knowledge and emotion. He realized that this was a gift, a connection that went beyond sight and sound, a link between human and alien, between life and energy. As evening approached, Liam and Nira sat by the lake, watching the sky change colors. The forest behind them glowed softly, and the valley shimmered in the fading light. Liam reflected on the journey they had shared, the battles, the lessons, and the trust they had built. He knew that he had been given more than survival. He had been given understanding, friendship, and a glimpse of a universe far greater than he had ever imagined. Nira touched his hand lightly, and Liam felt warmth and energy flow through him. He looked into her glowing eyes and understood her silent message: they were partners, allies, and friends. Together, they could explore this world, protect it, and face whatever challenges the future held. Liam smiled. For the first time, he felt that humans could truly learn from another world, and that courage, intelligence, and understanding could create bonds stronger than any weapon. As night fell, the stars reflected in the glowing waters of the lake. Liam set up a small camp, careful not to disturb the energy of the valley. Nira remained nearby, her presence calm and reassuring. He felt gratitude for her guidance, her trust, and the bond they shared. This partnership was a bridge between two worlds, a connection that could change the way humans understood life and the universe. Before sleep, Liam whispered softly, "Together, we will face the future." Nira touched his hand, and the water shimmered in response. He felt hope, determination, and a sense of purpose. The battles had taught him courage, the forest had taught him patience, and Nira had taught him understanding. Now, he was ready for the next stage of their journey. The next morning, Liam awoke to find Nira already moving beside the lake. She gestured toward the horizon, where mountains and glowing valleys stretched as far as the eye could see. Liam understood that their adventure was far from over. Together, they would explore this world, learn its secrets, and protect its life. The universe was vast, and there were dangers, wonders, and discoveries waiting for them. With a sense of excitement, Liam stood beside Nira. He felt stronger, wiser, and more connected than he had ever been. The bond between human and alien, between life and energy, had grown deeper through trust, courage, and shared experience. He realized that this journey was not only about exploration but about understanding, learning, and building a future where humans and other life forms could coexist and thrive. Hand in hand, Liam and Nira began walking toward the glowing mountains, their steps in harmony with the forest and the valley around them. The creatures of the forest moved freely, and the rivers of light shimmered with energy. Liam felt hope and determination. He knew that challenges would come, but he also knew that together, they could face anything. As they moved forward, Liam looked at Nira and whispered softly, "The future is ours to discover." She touched his hand in response, and the water shimmered once more, as if agreeing. The bond they had formed, the lessons they had learned, and the courage they had shown would guide them through whatever lay ahead. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but with trust, understanding, and friendship, they were ready for the journey. The glowing forest, the shimmering rivers, and the living world around them seemed to celebrate their bond. Liam felt that humanity had much to learn from this experience. Courage, intelligence, and understanding could create connections stronger than any weapon, and the universe held possibilities beyond imagination. Together, Commander Liam and Nira walked into the glowing horizon, ready to explore, protect, and discover the wonders of this world and the galaxy beyond. Their journey had begun, and it would lead them to new challenges, new friendships, and new understanding. The forest, the valley, and the river were alive, and with Nira and Liam working together, life would continue to thrive in harmony.